G'day folks, Wren here, and I want to tell you about some Australian Readathon books I've been reading. Now, before we get into it, hello, I'm back. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I took a involuntary break from BookTube for nearly 2 weeks, but my laptop broke. So I was using it one day, editing a video, and then the touchpad just stopped working. Like, as I was using it, it just stopped. So I took it to a local repair place, and they were like, yep, cool, 3 to 5 days. And I was like, oh, I did not plan for this. And then it was longer than 3 to 5 days. So I haven't been posting videos, and I also haven't been filming videos. I full on took a break. And I've actually ended up reading 3 poetry books in the past week. So I'm just going to talk about them. I didn't vlog any of this experience because I haven't been in the mood to vlog. So you're just getting a bit of a breakdown of these 3 poetry books. So we'll just start in this order because why not? So we have Dropbear by Evelyn Araluen, and this is a Indigenous poetry collection as well as a few essays. I've been wanting to read this for a long time, ever since it came out, because it got a lot of buzz when it came out. I have tabbed a few, I don't know if you can tell. This was difficult. I'll put it that way. It was difficult for me to comprehend. I've given this a 4-star. I think it was amazing. I also think this had a few poems in it, actually quite a lot of the poems, where I feel like they were written in a way where my brain couldn't connect all the dots. Things sometimes for me felt a little bit disjointed, like as if, you know, we were missing a few words sometimes. I know that was on purpose, and my brain just couldn't keep up with it, so it's very much a me thing. I do think this is really well written. I will say I enjoyed the essays a lot more than the poems, and I never thought I would say that, because every time I have seen a poetry collection that says, you know, poems and essays, I'm always like, oh, essays? I don't want to read that. And then I end up loving some of these essays. There was one in particular that I have tabbed that was called Breath. Oh my god. I started tearing up. It hit so hard because Breath was talking about the fires that were happening in Australia in 2020, and oh, I guess it hit hard for me because, like, I live in Australia and I was, you know, my state was burning in 2020, and that was really scary to just see smoke just covering everywhere and not being able to, like, I remember I have a photo on my phone of, I was driving down a side street and I couldn't see because it was just smoke, and like that was terrifying. Like, that was so close to my house, and like those fires, it was so terrifying. And so I think that really hit me really hard. And then one of the last lines, it mentioned George Floyd, and that was like, oh, it like tipped me over the edge. I was like, oh no, 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 and it came down. It was very, very powerful, and I want to read more of this author's essays because my brain couldn't super get with the poems, but the essays were phenomenal. There was also this one which I found kind of funny, but like, it wasn't funny haha, but funny as in oh, my childhood. Yeah, Fern Up Your Own Gully, because Fern Gully is one of my favourite movies from when I was a kid. And, you know, there's this thing of an unusual girl dreams of faraway places, dreams of cassette radio, of blonde boys, of defensible monarchies, is comfortable with poetic forms of entanglement and likes the smell of eucalypt. Just like, the cassette was so good. And I mean, it was also really impactful because the ending of this was also like a gut punch. It was Fern Up the Gully girls. Go live those pastel bush dreams while me and my ancestors sit, pissed, swinging on the veranda couch, right where you wrote us. Oof. Like, oh, they hit hard. Oh, Mrs. Kookaburra addresses the natives. That was so beautiful. That felt like a children's story, and that was really lovely. Like, I have bookmarked quite a few in here, not as much as I expected to. And I think because I had such high expectations, it kind of ruined it a little bit for me, that I expected perfection. And because it wasn't perfection, because nothing can be perfection, I felt let down, which doesn't make sense. But I think this is a really, really insightful and hard-hitting, but like a softly hard-hitting piece of poetry. It's beautiful and I highly, highly recommend it. Like, it hit. It surely hit. And I'm really glad that I did read this. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful poems in here and some really insightful essays. So if you have the chance to pick this up, I definitely recommend it. Next up was Dreamy Tales by Tina Jean Cadman. This was a local poetry collection for me, very near me in this little like new agey shop that I really love. This was just sitting there and I was like, oh my god, yeah, I'll definitely pick up a local author. That's so cool. So I bought it. It took me a really long time to read it, but I finally read it this week. But this gets a 2-star. I feel bad for not loving this because I really wanted to, but ooh, this was taking me back to my teenage years. Because the poetry in this is very formulaic. It's the nicest way I can put that. Like, every other sentence, the last word rhymes, you know? And it was that throughout the whole thing. There were occasionally some poems that didn't rhyme, and they were great. But the majority of these poems, they all rhymed. There was a lot where it was like the last line was written specifically so that that last word could rhyme with the previous one. It wasn't like a naturally flowing sentence, if that makes sense. This was a lot about relationships and love and the breakdown of love, and it was, oh, it wasn't great, but there were some that were really good. And like, they all had like photographs, so like all over the page there was them. Okay, there's this poem called Together Always, and it was about long distance relationships, and that got me. Even though it does have the rhyming in it, it definitely felt way more genuine than the other poems. Like, it felt like it was a very, like, it flowed well. That's what I'm trying to say. The poem flowed well. That one, that got to me. Oh, and there are some where there's like no words on the page and it's just artwork. And I don't know if the author like took all these photos. Like, there weren't many where I was like, yeah, get it, that was awesome. Emotion was also a good one, even though it does do the rhyming thing, but it had this kind of formula which I've seen before and I do really enjoy, where it's like each sentence or each line is similar but talking about the different thing. So in this there's, peace is the melody birds create prancing in the trees. Beauty is a purity a bright white angel sees. Love is a strong connection surrounding us. Patience is a placid calmness beyond any fuss. And it goes on. But like, that kind of, like, it's the emotion and then it talks about the emotion. Then it's that emotion and talks about that emotion. I like that kind of poetry, so I thought like that poem was good. And then this last one, I will read out this last one that I did think was good. It was the first one I tabbed, and it does have the rhyming thing, but I was like, it good. So it's called It's Just Me. It's just me with the blank page, a sheet for all my rage. It's just me with my mind, many thoughts for me to find. It's just me with the sea, I hear waves crash rhythmically. It's just me with my heart, sometimes it feels torn apart. It's just me with the sounds I hear, a drop of a tear. It's just me with my home, I enjoy being alone. It's just me with this moment in time, writing this rhyme. So like, it has that rhyming thing, which is not my favorite. That one, again, it felt very genuine and it flowed well enough, and I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying in this. It struck a chord in me. So I think it was I would say this is like a good first attempt at poetry, and I commend the author for being able to, you know, self-publish and, you know, put a book out there. That's amazing, and I would potentially read more. if this author decided to do any more poetry, I'd give it a go. But it wasn't it. You know, wasn't it. And then the last one I read was Exactly As I Am by Rae White. This was recommended to me by Erin from Sheba and Shelves, and I had kind of had it on the back of my mind being like, yeah, I'll get to that one day. And then I put it on hold at the library, and then it came in just in time for this readathon, which was great timing. And I ended up reading it, and this got 5 stars. 5 stars. It was amazing. Like, this could go on my top 10 of the year, because this was great. This is a queer poetry collection. I'll read a bit of the back here and it'll kind of explain maybe why I in particular gave this book 5 stars. It says, Rae White's compelling second poetry collection, Exactly As I Am, didn't know this was the second, I need to read the first, rises from their lived experience as a non-binary transgender person. Their gloriously defiant, unruly poems dissect and scrutinize the spaces transgender people are both assigned and denied in society through unflinching explorations of gender identity, gender discrimination, and gender euphoria. These bracing poems lean towards you, hold out their hand and offer you a connection, a community, an emboldened call to action. Yes, to all of that. It was so good. Like, definitely poetry is more impactful when it connects to you. So I, as a non-binary person, definitely connected to this. And there were some poems where I was like, yes, 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 yes. Everything you've just written is exactly what I've been through. And stuff like that is just, there are just no words for being seen. And I feel like, especially for a non-binary person, it's sometimes difficult to get that representation, and this made me feel so good about myself. Even though some of the things that were written in here were very hard-hitting topics, the fact that someone else has been through what I've been through made me feel amazing, even though there were awful situations, you know. But it was phenomenal. I want to buy this desperately so that I can underline and highlight the ever-living hell out of this, because I had to stop putting in tabs because I was like, I just want to tab the whole thing. Just, there's so many poems about, oh my gosh, okay, I will get to what I was saying in just a second, but this poem, Hush, the first bit, just, I walk into the women's toilets and the unraveling degendering of it makes my head tilt below my collarbone. Someone clears their throat. But I thought you were NB. Yes, and scientists have discovered the radical genderqueer peas only in spaces not dedicated to them as a sign of respect for the binary. Everything about that poem, the more of it, oh, so good. But that first bit of walking into a women's bathroom and just immediately feeling bloody awful about it because it's like you're degendering yourself, and that is awful. But there's no other space for you. You've got 2 options to choose from, so you choose the one that's less likely to end in bodily harm. That's kind of what we deal with on a daily basis. And it's not fun. Just the fact that someone else gets it blows my mind. And there are just so many poems in this that I could talk about. But they're also written, this one that's just a weird little line thing. There are some that are written across the page like this. And I really like the way this has been formatted. I thought that was really wonderful. It's just it's hard to explain without really going in depth into who I am as a person. But everything in here was amazing. Oh, rainbow confetti pixels, so good. Basically everything. I'm honestly just saying, everyone please go pick this up because it's phenomenal and it's so important and I love it dearly, and I don't have the words to express how much this means to me and how just it's a big middle finger to cisgender binaries and putting people in boxes. And it's beautiful and, like I said, radical. Yeah, it's definitely that. It's so good. I can't express how good this is. Even if it wasn't about being non-binary and transgender, it's still a beautiful poetry collection, and they are a very good poet. Honestly, I could talk about this book for another half an hour, but we don't have time for that. Please, please go read this. So basically, these were the 3 poetry books I read in this past week. I think they're all great. I think these are great. But I would definitely say go pick these up. And I think it's been really great to have this focus on Australian authors for this readathon, because I don't read Australian authors enough. You know, being an Australian, living in Australia, I should read more locally. And it's always so great to read anything from, you know, your own country, your own culture, because you're like, yes, you get it, you understand, and it always feels so good. I'm having a great time with the Australian Readathon, and I hope you are too. Let me know what you've been reading and if you've been participating, and I will now be back to hopefully my regularly scheduled programming because I have a laptop again. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!